We have 3 spots on the court. Those are the 3 spots. From there, those 3 spots, 90% of the time, always have to be filled. Once you have that down, this is called the pass and cut. Basically, what's going to happen is player 1 can pass to player 2 or player 3. Let's say, for example, he passes to player 2. After that pass, he's going to cut towards the rim, and now he may be open for that layup. But now we have that spot open and no easy way for player 1 to get back to that spot. So what's going to happen now is player 3 is going to fill that spot. Now he could be also open for a 3-point shot. And then player 1 is going to curl out and fill that empty spot that's on that far side. Next, if player 2 is doing a pass and cut, which is what we just did with player 1, he's going to pass over to player 3. He is going to then cut towards the rim, and he's going to try and cut in front of player 2 so that he has an open lane for a layup. Now, once he gets down towards this low block, because he came from the side, from the corner, what's going to happen is, let's say he's not open, one of 2 things can happen. First, I want to see him post up his man for 1 to 2 seconds. If player 3 dribbles out towards that right side, then what's going to happen is we're going to post up for 1 to 2 more seconds. If he is able to get an advantage over his man, player 3 is going to pass him the ball to take his man to the net. If not, and he's not open or he's not gaining an advantage, we're going to have now player 1 fill player 3's old spot, and we're going to have player 2 cut out towards that far side, again filling these 3 spots. Now, starting back up to the top and going with the pass and screen away option. I like this one the best, personally. Now, with this option, what's going to happen is player 1 is going to pass, and just like the offense says, he is going to be screening away. So when he screens away, player 2 is then going to fill that empty spot, and he could be open for that 3-point shot. He could also cut towards the rim. That's another option. If he cuts towards the rim, now actually first, if he cuts up here, he's not open or whatever may happen, they're in their spots. However, if he cuts towards the rim instead, what's going to happen is now, if he's open, definitely hit him up for that layup. If not, what's going to happen is player 1 is going to fill out towards that spot. Player 3 is going to dribble back up top, and player 2 is going to finish his cut and pop out towards the opposite side that he started from. Now going from there, if player 3 passes to player 1, he screens away, just so we can get the ball over towards that corner. And let's say player 1 now passes to player 2. Well, there's nobody over here for player 1 to screen away to. So what he's going to do is, pretending that these 3 players are in a somewhat kind of like a circle, he's going to be screening away by back screening towards player 3. Now he can take that big wide loop. Personally, I wouldn't. What I would personally do is, when he passes to player 2, cut across, do a high cut across, and set a back screen on player 3. Player 3 will then cut towards the rim, and he may be open for that layup. If he is, definitely give it to him. If he's not, he's just going to pop back out, and we're now back in that same 3 spots as we were before. What about pass and screen 4? Very simple. Player 2 is going to pass to player 1. We're going to then have player 2 set a screen for player 1. Player 1 is going to use that screen. He's going to pop out towards that spot that's open, and we're going to have a possible shot by player 1 or player 2 rolling towards the basket, especially if there was a switch. He could be rolling towards the basket for an easy layup. Now, personally, I like adding in a couple of extra moves into this offense. So, sometimes you can just pop back out and fill that 3rd spot. However, I personally like setting a back screen for player 3 at the same time instead of popping back out. And this is now going to allow player 3 to have the option to have a lob pass for that layup as well. Now, if he's not open, they're just going to be clearing out towards those 3 spots. And again, we are back in those 3 spots that we started from. Now I hope, so in this first play, we're going to have what I like to call a sandwich screen. We're going to be having players 2 and 3 both setting a screen on player 1. Player 1 blue is now going to make the decision to go right or left, but either way, if he goes right or left, you can mirror this play on either side. So let's say, for example, player 1 dribbles out towards that left side. He's going to look to try and attack so that he can pull that player 4 defender up so player 2 is able to roll towards the basket. If that's the case, he can pass down to player 2 for an easy layup. Now, if, for example, we don't have a switch and player 1 is able to get past that screen and player 4 has player 2 covered really well, I want to see player 3 popping towards the 3-point line. The reason behind this is because sometimes player 5, red, may just pop down to play a little bit of help defense. This is when player 1 can make a quick swing pass over to player 3 where player 3 could drain that 3-point shot. Now, another option as well is, let's say both those players are covered. They were a fantastic defensive team. What we can do now is we can set up the offense. Again, that's totally an option, but I personally really like to run this next continuation play. And that is having player 2 pop out. And now we're going to have player 3 and 1 come together for a dribble handoff. When this happens, player 3 is going to look to attack. If player 1 is rolling, of course, that's an option. But let's say player 3 drives or player 1 rolls and gets that ball. It doesn't matter. If player 4 comes down to play help defense, this needs to be a kick out to player 2 for a 3-point shot. Or if it's really tight help defense, player 2 can cut and it can be an easy layup for player 2. So with that first play, with a continuation of this next play with the dribble handoff, the DHO, you're going to be very successful winning with those 2 simple plays back to back. But there's more, so stay tuned. Here's another play that you're going to absolutely love. So this next play, what we're going to have is player 2, he's going to start by walking down towards the baseline. That's going to pull player 4 red towards the baseline as well. We're going to have player 1 and 3 come together for a dribble handoff. When player 3 gets that ball, of course, there is the option to shoot that shot or drive if he has the open lane. If he doesn't, and player 5 red was able to defend that DHO, what I want to see happen is player 1 cut down and set a screen for player 2. Player 2 is going to pop, and player 1 is going to roll off of that screen. So player 2 is going to pop, player 1 is going to roll. The idea behind this is because now we're giving player 3 2 different options. If he sees player 2 is open for a 3-point shot, he is going to drain it. However, if player 1 switched off and player 1 is rolling towards the basket, now he has a pass down to player 1 for an easy layup. And we're all looking for simplicity when we're playing 3-on-3. This is not exactly a hard drill or a hard play to run. Now this next play, we're going to start with 2 post players. And what we're going to be having here is player 2, he's going to be setting a screen across for player 3. Player 3 is going to be popping towards that high post or 3-point line. If he's a good shooter from the mid-range, he could drain that shot. If he's a good 3-point shooter, he could drain that shot. But either way, wherever he catches it, it doesn't matter. What we're going to be looking to have once he gets that ball is most likely that defender is going to catch up eventually. We're going to be now having a back screen on player 1, except if player 3 is in the high post, I want player 1 to take behind on the far side. And if player 3 is out on the 3-point line, I want to see player 1 take that close side so that he can get that ball and go in for that layup. On this side, he's going to be most likely looking to try and get an alley-oop, and that would set him up really well. We ran this play the other day against some guys who were talking garbage at the Y, and we got ourselves a dunk. We were playing with a guy who has some just insane hopping ability. Was not me. I was the one who passed the ball. And here's one more play that can get, if you have somebody who has hops, this is the play for your team. We're going to be having player 2 set a screen on player 1, and this needs to be a very strong screen. We want player 1 to be able to drive towards the basket. We want that because we want player 5, red, to come out and play help defense. Meanwhile, we have player 3 cutting baseline. This is why we set him up way down deep. And this is going to be an alley-oop for a dunk. Again, another play that we ran against some guys talking garbage, and this ended up being a massive slam on those guys. There's this one guy who just has some insane hopping ability at the Y. I'm the one who set up both those plays, though, so that was fantastic. And it worked, and we got some dunks, and we won both games.